Good morning from a chilly Southern California, everybody. As you can see on screen there, that's about right, 47 degrees. I have a thermometer on my wall in here, and it's sitting just below 50 degrees, right about 50 degrees. I don't turn my heat on in the house. I just don't do that. I live in Southern California, and normally I can stand the weather enough to where I don't turn the heat on. Every once in a while, I will turn it on when it gets really cold. Like if it's really dreary and rainy on those types of winter days that do occur here sometimes. But if it's like this, as you can see, today it's going to be sunny and it's going to reach 73. Although there are clouds in the sky, they're not everywhere, but there are some clouds. I don't see a sunny sky like was suggested down there at the lower left. But I'm sure it will reach the low 70s. It was a beautiful day yesterday. I went out to the beach and rode my bike, and I did a little riding around here locally, so I enjoyed it. And but it is chilly in the morning, and what I do is I just sleep with a electric blanket, and I put a couple of light blankets on top of that, and that keeps me warm and toasty. And in fact, my cat also likes to now, at this time of year, come and beg me to get under the covers. I'm afraid to say, yes, I do allow my cat to sleep under the covers with me because, well, he's like a live teddy bear, basically. He's a big fat tabby with a bunch of colors on his belly. He just looks like a giant furry, soft teddy bear, and he's impossible to resist, basically. But yeah, it's that time of year. It's beautiful during the day, but nights do get pretty chilly. At any rate, it's been a while, guys. I haven't been here, and it's been because I've been really busy with my basketball league. I've been working with spreadsheets with Excel, trying to figure out how to do this system that I'm working on quickly and efficiently. And I'm trying to figure out just what I can handle in this league. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. So I'm trying to, I did a test run yesterday on every team stats, just to see how long it took me to do it. And yeah, I see that I'm going to have to make some changes in that league in order to embrace this new system where there's limits on minutes per position. But the changes are minute, and they're actually very good changes. And you guys aren't here for basketball, so I won't go into those. I'm going to talk about the games yesterday because it was kind of a shocker. I know that my team in particular, a very disappointing loss. Michigan played great, though. It was one of those hard luck games for the Aztecs. They had the second highest score, I think, in the league this weekend, and they played against the team with the highest score. And it's kind of fitting because Michigan was the hard luck loser of the entire season. As you can see here in the standings, Michigan at 6-6, they are still alive in their bid for the championship bracket. And in fact, all they're battling, I think, is Penn State at this point. Penn State sitting there at 6-6 as well. So this weekend's games are going to be big, but Michigan has scored 502 points on the season, and that's as many as San Diego State. No, that's not as many as San Diego State. That's as many as some of the other teams that are ahead of them in the standings. Almost. More than Georgia for sure, more than Alabama, and pretty darn close to California. It's just been one of those kind of years for Michigan. Of course, yesterday, if I had looked at the news and not had my head buried in Excel all week, spreadsheets, I might have noticed that Kyron Williams was going to come back and play, and I didn't read any news on that situation. Now, that being said, I can't say that I would have done anything differently. I might have just reasoned that Kyron Williams was going to play just a little bit. They would play him sparingly. It seems like the Rams season is hopeless in terms of playoffs. So I might very well have just left him there on redshirt status, figuring Ramondre Stevenson is doing a good enough job. A.J. Dillon and Devin Singletary have been hot lately, so there's a good chance I wouldn't have made that move. But if I had pulled Kyron Williams off the injured reserve list, well, the Aztecs win that game, and they're still sitting in the number one spot and probably going to earn their way to a Rose Bowl, which is a Week 15 bye, because that's the way it works. The top-rated team in this league gets the Week 15 bye to the Rose Bowl, and they await their opponent there, which will be the fourth-ranked team after the Week 15 results. And the Aztecs are playing Fresno State this week, and Fresno State's having a pretty rough season, so I would expect the Aztecs to win that game. So I would have thought, if we win this game over the weekend, we go on to beat Fresno State. We're in the Rose Bowl. We don't have to worry about a tough game in Week 15, which could very well be against this Michigan team yet again. And I will also say right here that, well, it looks like Kyron Williams is definitely coming off the IR, barring any kind of injury news. And I'll be honest with you, I have not even looked yet. I just got up this morning and I said the first thing I'm going to do is make a video on this league because I haven't done so in a while, and I keep saying I'm going to do it, and I have to get it done. So I want to just also talk about the Alabama game. Alabama lost this weekend. It was a tough one for them as they really needed to win, and I think I titled one of my videos last week, which was a preview of the Alabama-Georgia game, that Alabama really needed to win, and they could ill afford to lose in the first place, let alone to a team like Georgia, who's going to be battling them potentially for a tiebreaker situation to get into the championship bracket. So now Alabama has a tough game coming up against Penn State, who's not really, a pushover type team, even though Penn State has not exactly been a great team this year. And I'll just go over here and pull up Penn State right now. Penn State this past weekend loses again here to California. They scored 33.53 points in their loss, and that was a game that Penn State could ill afford to lose as well, as they are battling to get into the championship bracket, and they are looking at a tiebreak scenario. They are sitting at 6-6, and looking back again at Penn State there, and their recent performance, they have just been losing in general. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games. So I would expect Alabama to take care of business this weekend. But the way Alabama's been going about things, they keep getting beaten in games that they're supposed to win. Let's have a look over here at Alabama's schedule. And you can see that Alabama lately has also been struggling pretty badly, as they have gone 1-3 in their last 4 games, including losses to California, Colorado, and Georgia, all championship contenders right now. So this weekend's game against Penn State is looking crucial to both teams. And this might be your tiebreaker game right here, as they both come in with 6-6 records. Penn State and Alabama, that is. And here they are in the standings. You can see Alabama sitting at 7-5. My mistake. I'm sorry. Alabama is 7-5. But they're still not clear to get into the championship bracket with that 7-5 record. There is a good chance that we're going to have more than 7 teams in this league this year with 7 victories. And that's going to complicate things a little bit because we have to go to the tiebreaker. If it's a tie between more than 2 teams and it's common opponents between them, it's basically those 3 teams. You look at their records against each other. And if it has to go further than that, there's more tiebreakers. We won't get into them right now. Maybe I'll try to squeeze in another video, at least 2 videos this week. And I am pretty much on top of the Excel stuff, the spreadsheet stuff. I'm just playing around with it at this point. I have streamlined the process to where I have more time for football, and I should, because this is the best time of year. We're in the championship. We're basically getting close to bowl season, and this is the time to really savor this league and savor the results. And it was a very interesting week with Alabama losing, San Diego State losing that number 1 ranking, probably for good. They're probably on their way to the Fiesta Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl is where the number 2 team takes on the number 7 team. And I'm pretty sure that San Diego State is destined for that Fiesta Bowl, because if you look at the top of the standings here, you see that Colorado sitting at 8-4. San Diego State has the tiebreak against Colorado. They beat them in a head-to-head matchup, and the Aztecs also beat Maryland. So from what I'm seeing here, it looks like San Diego State is clinched no lower than the number 1 ranking or the number 2 ranking, which means they go straight to the Fiesta Bowl, where they played against number 7. And that's what makes these other games really interesting, because you got these teams down here at the bottom of the standings still surviving. Penn State, Michigan, Alabama could get pulled into a tiebreak scenario. These are going to be the opponents for the Aztecs in that Fiesta Bowl. You've got New Mexico at number 1 going to the Rose Bowl. San Diego State going to that Fiesta Bowl at number 2. Colorado moved up to the number 3 spot. Maryland is 4th. Cal is 5th. Georgia sixth and Alabama seventh right now. So basically, it's looking very much like it's going to be one of these teams. It's going to be Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, or Penn State that San Diego State has to play. And interestingly enough, two of those teams have beaten the Aztecs this year, Michigan and Penn State. And both of them, again, were because players that were on redshirt status were on that status and could have made differences in those games. Brian Branch, the safety in week one, would have been the difference for the Aztecs if they hadn't had him on redshirt status at that time. He had a big game that week. He had a pick six. That would have been a victory for the Aztecs. And then this last week against Michigan, Kyron Williams is on the IR. He could have played, and he played good enough to have gotten the Aztecs over in this Michigan game. He had a huge game this weekend, as some of you might know. The thing about it is this is my chance to kind of talk about red shirts and the greed factor. You know, I'm noticing, especially with players like running backs, there is that ticking clock on them. They're like sitting on a time bomb. Running backs generally, set the world on fire right out of the gates if they're good. And then, after about 3 or 4 years of usage, they start breaking down. So by year 5, year 6, these guys are not even really the same guys that you wanted to protect and keep, that you thought you were going to have when you decided to redshirt them in the first place. And for that reason, I really think it's kind of a bad policy to ever redshirt a running back. I think you should just use these guys up when they're young. The only time it would be maybe wise is if they're absolutely stuck behind somebody in their rookie season and they're not going to play. And in that case, maybe it's not a bad idea to just redshirt them and get that fifth year, because you want them for 4 years when they are full strength and they are playing. But a player like Kyron Williams, who is really doing great this year before he got hurt, he's been hurt a couple of times, but when he's healthy, when he's in the lineup, it's obvious the Rams are going to use him. And for that reason, there's no way I'm leaving Kyron Williams on redshirt status. He's coming off the IR this week. The Aztecs are going to need him for potential championship run. I mean, they're going to make a championship run, obviously. They've got the number 2 rank. They've got that lockdown from what I can see. And they're going to have to pull out everything they have to survive that Fiesta Bowl, because they're playing against one of these teams that can step up and beat you. Teams like Michigan, even Alabama. Georgia definitely has shown that they can be dangerous. Even Penn State. These teams are no joke. And these teams that are ranked 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are going to have to play that group of teams down there that are ranked 8th through 5th. Teams like California, even. California enters the picture. They're right now ranked 5th, I believe. Cal right there at 7-5, but that can change as well. California doesn't necessarily get locked into that position. They have one more to go as well. They play against Texas. Texas, another team that is good, that could have very well been in the championship picture, but they had misfortune. So California is not even totally out of the woods. If you look at their schedule here, you can see that they beat Penn State. They beat Michigan. These are huge wins. They beat Alabama. So they've won against Georgia as well. I think California, basically, it's safe to say that they have clinched. They are in the championship bracket. And it looks to me like California is locked into that number 5 spot. And that means that they're going to be playing in the Peach Bowl. And that's against the number 4 team. And before I forget this, also, I wanted to mention that this loss the San Diego State Aztecs had this week to Michigan was a revenge game for the Wolverines. Last year, you might remember, maybe you don't, because I didn't even remember off the top of my head, but the Final Four was between, I think, Maryland played against New Mexico, and San Diego State played against Michigan in one of those Final Four games last year. And San Diego State rolled. Michigan had a horrible game, and it was a blowout win for the Aztecs. That's what got them to that championship game, where they kind of got lucky and won the title. So this was a big revenge game for Gerald Lane and his Michigan Wolverines. Congratulations on that one, Gerald. Hoping not to meet you again in this game here, this Fiesta Bowl, because Michigan is looking like one of those teams They're dangerous. They beat Ohio State in real life this week. It's a big week for Michigan teams, is it not? In fantasy and in real life. But at any rate, it looks like Cal is locked into that Peach Bowl game, and that's going to be against either Colorado or Maryland. And then the next one down the line is the Orange Bowl. And the Orange Bowl is, again, going to be either Colorado or Maryland, and they're going to face somebody like Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Penn State. These are games that are easily disasters for these teams. The team that's going to get off easy, obviously, is the number one ranked team that goes straight to the Orange Bowl, and that's California. On a side note, also, I want to point out that the loser from Week 15's bowl games, the Championship Series bowl games, that is the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. The highest ranked loser goes directly to the Citrus Bowl. And the Citrus Bowl is playing for the number 5 pick next season. Excuse me, my voice still. It's been a week of the sniffles, basically. At any rate, San Diego State is locked into that number 2 ranking. So if San Diego State loses in the Fiesta Bowl, they're going straight to the Citrus Bowl. So things can't get any worse, I guess, is the point. In this league, I designed it so that, you can fall in the rankings with an unfortunate loss late in the season, but you can't fall too far. It would be leaving a pretty bad taste in people's mouths if you were to be second ranked team, perhaps, or even top ranked team, and end up having to play in something like the bowl that plays for the 7th pick. That's just a bit excessive. I don't want to see a team drop that far, and I also don't think it's very fair for the team that has the worst record to be able to play for the 7th pick. To get to that game, which this year is the Holiday Bowl. Every year these bowls switch places because the BCS, the way they work it out, different bowls of the big traditional bowls, the big ones, they get different games every year. It rotates around which stadium is going to get the championship game. Now they've stopped calling the championship game a bowl game, but the games leading up to that are in places where there were huge bowls: Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl. Cotton and Sugar Bowl this year are both getting slighted in this whole thing. They're not hosting huge games, but they are actually, I think in week 17, I believe it's the Cotton Bowl. Just bear with me here as I find it. Yes, the Cotton Bowl in week 17 is going to be between the losers from the Final Four championship games. And those Final Four games here in week 16 are going to be the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. Those are going to be the 2 bowls. So the Sugar Bowl is getting a pretty big game this year, as they're getting one of the semifinal games. The Rose Bowl gets the other semifinal game, and the losers of those games go and meet each other directly in the Cotton Bowl the next week, week 17. The winners obviously go on to the national championship. So week 15 is a pivotal week for a lot of teams, and I'm going to cut this one short. I've been ranting and raving about this in this bowl scenario, and I wanted to do that and just kind of go over the big games from this week, the surprises. And I am going to make another video just kind of talking a little bit further about the implications of the games coming up. We do have some good ones, and let's just quickly look at the schedule. As you can see here, coming up this week, we've got that huge game between Penn State and Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. Just bear with me here. Let's look at scores instead. And here they are. We've got Penn State, Alabama. Penn State coming in 6-6, Alabama at 7-5. Basically, I feel like this is going to be a game that determines if one of these teams goes to the championship bracket. And that's why I want to look further into it. I don't want this video to go on a half an hour. I'd rather just cut it short now. I'll go into what happens, say, if Alabama loses this game. That would be important. That would be something interesting to look into. And I know you guys might look into it on the side for yourselves. Leave your comments in the chat box. I did see that Mark Jones made some comments, and I will go over those a little bit. and review them. But again, I just wanted to come out here and shoot this video off the hip because it's been a while, and I just wanted to touch bases with you guys. Georgia, big game against Tulane. I think California has clinched it. So Michigan kind of trying to get in the hard way, but they have survived. And so Michigan has a big game this week against Colorado, a tough team. This doesn't have playoff implications for Colorado as they have already clinched, but perhaps it could affect them in the standings. And that's something also I want to look into a little bit, do my research, and then maybe tomorrow or the next day throw out another video talking about those things. We have a very interesting week 13 coming up, guys. I'm looking forward to the games. And again, like I say, I'm just going to do some research and come back with another video in a day or two talking about it. So again, sun is out here. It's looking like it's going to be a beautiful day. Again, I have the day off. That's awesome. I don't know if I'm going to go to I'm definitely not going to travel all the way to the beach again. That's like a 40-something mile round trip. So I don't like to go out and spend that much, time on the highway and then the gas money and all that, the wear and tear. I just, one day a week down there is good enough usually. Sometimes I'll go down twice, but a lot of times I don't go down there at all. I think I'm just going to hang out around here where it's warm in the East County of San Diego. We're going to have a beautiful day out here. I live in the El Cajon area, La Mesa. And, it's funny. This used to be kind of it still is considered low income out here, even though it's the weirdest thing. In San Diego, you have neighborhoods like El Cajon where on paper they say low income, but when you look around, people are driving nice cars, and you walk off the main drags. There's some streets where you see some downtrodden people, but you just walk a block in off these streets, and here's homes that are well kept, pride of ownership, and these homes are all easily worth $650,000 or more. Most of them are worth like $700 to well over $1 million. Homes around here, it's crazy. California is a weird place. It is definitely a land of the haves and the have-nots. It's on display. It doesn't seem like there's much of a middle class. If anybody is a middle class, I guess I would fall into that category because I work a well-paying enough job where I have a few bucks and I'm not homeless, but I'm definitely not wealthy enough to afford $1 million home. Yeah, that's become the middle class, but I'm not going to go there. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys real soon. All right, take it easy.